Now, we've talked a lot about the crisis businesses are facing in this pandemic, but of course, there's a health crisis at the heart of it. With hospital figures on the rise again, we could be facing another equipment shortage. To put this into context, currently 860 patients are admitted daily to hospital, according to the latest government figures. Now, you probably remember earlier this year, the government called on companies to take up the ventilator challenge, to have designs ready for manufacturing within 30 days. And although it was cancelled, it saw more than 5,000 companies offering their support and 14,000 ventilators being made. So are businesses going to take up the challenge again if they're needed? Let's talk to Sam Hyde, the CEO of TTP, a technology company that worked with Dyson to help design the CoVent ventilator as part of the last ventilator challenge. Sam, good morning.
Good morning, Felicity.
Now, was it a challenge then, earlier at the start of this crisis, when the government asked for ventilators? How did you decide that you were ready to kind of step up to the plate?
Well, the challenge actually very much needed agile, multidisciplinary, high-paced teams, teams prepared to do things quite differently. And TTP Technology Partnership, we're a UK firm, about 300 scientists and engineers, with quite a track record in healthcare and medical devices. Now, we're used to working pretty fast. We typically work on 50 plus products at any one time. But even for us, that 30-day target that you mentioned was a challenge for us. But what we and the other members of the Ventilator Challenge team achieved in was to create in just a few weeks something that normally would take years.
And so what was the atmosphere like? Were there lots of all-nighters? Were you all sort of crammed in a room trying to
Yeah,
work it out? Or
yeah. So I'll give you a sense of the pace. About 12 hours after the call came in, over 100 or so of our clinicians, physicists, and engineers volunteered, and we were working 24 hours, 7 days a week. Within only a few days, actually, we had the first proof of principle ventilator that could be scaled up for high volume manufacture. And after about 30 days, we had the first safe, effective ventilators being produced on a production line, having undergone quite rigorous testing. I think it was a great example of what the UK industry can do, coming together, kind of pooling that expertise, tackling the challenges that this pandemic has produced.
and you're in sort of medical and health technology. How's your industry feeling overall about the rise in admissions? Do you think the country's prepared?
So I think one of the interesting things about this virus is that we're learning new things every day. Actually, during the ventilator challenge, one of the difficult things was there was new information coming in, understanding how best to treat the virus, how to protect yourself against the virus. And so what we actually really needed was to be very agile to understand the latest data and to apply ourselves appropriately to that. So I think it was a great showcase of how UK industry can come together, pool different expertise, but also act in a very agile way. So you asked how we're doing, what the mood is. I think these are unprecedented and challenging times for everyone. People are concerned for health, looking after young children, and trying to keep businesses operating. And we, as a business, like many, had to switch over to partial remote working. We have labs, and so we needed to keep the labs open to be able to respond to the crisis. What I would say is that, despite the challenges, the people who can work for us and for the other UK industry are inspired by working on projects that have this kind of impact, products that do save lives.
Now, when you talk about the agility that was needed to be ready to make those ventilators, during the start of this pandemic, when you make something as essential and that needs to be as safe as medical and health technology equipment, how big a struggle was it getting everything tested and being confident that everything had been through all the appropriate checks in such a short period of time?
It's a pretty good question. Most critical in the front of everyone's mind was how we create a safe and effective ventilator that can save lives, as that was the priority. We did learn quite a few things about how to be very agile, how we can run different parts of the project in parallel to crunch the tasks, to bring that timeline right down. As I mentioned, be able to do this in only 30 days, and what would normally take most companies a few years to do, was a particularly big challenge. But by bringing it all together, by running those teams in parallel, we managed to both develop according to the regulatory requirements, which are pretty tough for products like this, and also achieve the result of a ventilator that actually was running off production lines after only 30 days.
Has been very genuinely inspiring seeing the innovation and the inventiveness and how quickly people can just pull together and get these projects off the ground. Sam, thank you very much for joining us this morning. That's Sam Hyde, the CEO of TTP, which is a technology company that worked on the design of the CoVent ventilator in the earlier ventilator challenge.